The situation inside the Carolina Panthers building is reaching a boiling point, and what I am hearing from my sources suggests that the stability everyone hoped for after a playoff run might be an illusion. We are looking at a scenario where the foundation of the franchise could be ripped apart sooner than anyone anticipated because the pressure from the top is becoming unsustainable for those on the field and the sidelines. This is a developing story with massive implications for the future of football in Charlotte, and you do not want to miss a single detail of this breakdown. Make sure to hit that subscribe button and like this video to stay updated on all Panthers news. Bryce Young is currently standing at a crossroads that could define the next decade of this franchise, but the latest intel suggests his time as the face of the Panthers might be shorter than we think. Despite Dan Morgan exercising the fifth-year option, there is a growing consensus among league analysts and insiders that Young is viewed as a bridge solution rather than a permanent fixture in Carolina. The statistics from the 2025 season showed some signs of progression, but the glaring issue remains the high volume of turnovers which continues to haunt his performance. We are talking about 27 turnovers in just 26 games, and that is a metric that simply cannot persist if you want to win at a high level in this league. The instability at the top starts with David Tepper, whose volatility is well documented across the NFL landscape, and it creates an environment where nobody feels truly safe in their position. Even after finally breaking the playoff drought that lasted since 2017, the feeling within the building is not one of long-term security but rather a temporary reprieve. There are whispers that the current hierarchy is built on shifting sand, and that the quarterback and head coach might be operating on completely different timelines than the ownership expects. This creates a massive disconnect that usually ends in a total house cleaning, and the signs are pointing toward that potential disaster. The biggest concern isn't just the play on the field, but the philosophical divide between the scouting department, the coaching staff, and the owner's suite, which has led to 8 consecutive losing seasons before this recent spark. When you look at the landscape of the NFC South, the window for sustained success is wide open, but the internal friction might slam it shut before the Panthers can actually walk through it. It is a high-stakes gamble that Tepper is playing with the future of this organization, and the players are starting to feel the weight of that uncertainty every single day in practice. But the most shocking part of this entire report isn't just about the quarterback's struggles or the owner's temperament, but how the coaching staff is viewing their own roles in this chaotic environment, which leads us to a very disturbing realization about the man leading the team on Sundays. This report is shaking the very core of the Panthers fan base, and we need to know your thoughts. Do you think ownership is the real problem, or is it the performance on the field? Drop a comment right now and let us know if you still trust the process. Stay tuned because things get even more intense. Dave Canales is finding himself in a position where his reputation as a quarterback whisperer is being put to the ultimate test under the most difficult circumstances imaginable. While he managed to navigate the team into the postseason, prominent NFL analysts like Patrick Doherty are already ranking him near the bottom of coaches returning for the 2026 season, which is a staggering lack of confidence. The buzz around the league is that Canales might be looking at the Carolina job as a platform to rebuild his own resume rather than a destination where he intends to build a long-term dynasty. If the head coach is already looking at the exit door or viewing his current role as a stepping stone, it creates a vacuum of leadership that can destroy a locker room from the inside out. My sources indicate that the rapport between the coaching staff and the front office is professional, but strained by the constant looming presence of David Tepper's expectations. There is a specific fear that the ceiling for any coach in Carolina is limited as long as the current ownership structure remains so involved in the day-to-day football operations. Canales has shown tactical flexibility, but the turnover problems with the offense suggest a lack of fundamental discipline that usually reflects back on the coaching. When you have a quarterback who is talented but inconsistent, and a coach who might have one eye on his next opportunity, you have a recipe for a short-lived partnership that leaves the fans wanting more. The reality is that the Panthers are in a cycle of desperation where they are trying to force a championship window open with pieces that might not fit the long-term puzzle. We are seeing a coach who was hired to fix a specific problem, but might realize that the systemic issues within the organization are far beyond his control. This leads to a situation where the success of 2025 might be viewed by history as an anomaly rather than a turning point. The whispers in the hallways of Bank of America Stadium are getting louder, and they all point to the same conclusion. This current regime is fighting an uphill battle against their own organizational culture. It is a fascinating and terrifying time to be a part of this team, because the next few months will determine if this was a legitimate step forward or just another false start in a long line of disappointments. The impact of this internal instability cannot be overstated because it affects everything from free agent recruitment to the development of young talent on the roster. When agents and players look at the Carolina Panthers, they see a franchise that has struggled to find an identity for nearly a decade, and that makes it incredibly difficult to build a culture of winning. General manager Dan Morgan is trying to project a sense of continuity by sticking with his young quarterback, but the external pressure to find a truly elite signal caller is mounting with every turnover that occurs on national television. The future of this franchise depends on whether they can break the cycle of losing seasons and establish a baseline of competence that transcends individual players or coaches. However, if the analysis is correct, and the current duo of the quarterback and the head coach is only a temporary fix, then the Panthers are essentially back at square one in their rebuilding process. This would mean another search for a franchise savior and another adjustment period for a fan base that has already been through so much turmoil. The decision-making process in the front office seems to be caught between a desire to win now and the realization that the current roster might not have the depth to compete with the elite teams in the NFC. We are looking at a potential scenario where the team might have to make a difficult choice about their direction before the 2026 season even begins. If the performance doesn't take a massive leap forward in terms of efficiency and ball security, the voices calling for a total reset will become deafening. It is a delicate balancing act for Dan Morgan and the rest of the leadership group as they try to manage the owner's expectations while also being realistic about the talent they have on the field. The upcoming draft and free agency periods will be the ultimate tell for how they really feel about the current trajectory, because actions always speak louder than words in this business. If we see major moves at the quarterback position or a shift in the coaching staff's responsibilities, we will know that the internal alarm bells are ringing. The fans deserve a team that is built to last, and right now the evidence suggests that the foundation is still far too shaky for anyone to feel comfortable about the long-term outlook in Carolina. Ultimately, what we are witnessing in Carolina is a franchise struggling to overcome its own internal shadows while trying to convince the world that they have finally found the light. The success of making the playoffs was a great story for the fans, but the underlying issues regarding leadership, consistency, and ownership interference are still very much present in the daily operations. This isn't just about one bad game or one struggling player. It is about the entire philosophy of how a football team should be run in the modern NFL. If the Panthers want to avoid becoming a perpetual bottom feeder, they must find a way to align the interests of the owner, the front office, and the coaching staff into a single cohesive vision. Right now, it feels like everyone is pulling in different directions, and that is a recipe for disaster in a league where the margins between winning and losing are razor thin. The meaning of this news is clear. The honeymoon period after the playoff berth is over, and the hard reality of building a sustainable winner has arrived with a vengeance. We are at a point where excuses will no longer be accepted by a fan base that is hungry for a return to the glory days. The next few months will be some of the most critical in the history of the Carolina Panthers, and we will be here to cover every single twist and turn of this saga. Will the team double down on their current path, or will the volatility of the situation force another massive change that resets the clock once again? The stakes could not be higher for everyone involved, and the pressure is only going to increase as we get closer to the new season. We want to hear from the die-hard fans who have stayed loyal through the thin times. Do you believe this team can overcome the internal chaos, or is it time to start looking for a new direction entirely? Let us know your perspective in the comments section, because your voice matters in this conversation. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you never miss an insider update on your Carolina Panthers. This is a story that is just getting started, and you want to be here when the next piece of the puzzle falls into place. Thank you for watching, and we will see you in the next report with more exclusive insights from inside the building. Keep pounding.